Slush I do, buckaroos. How the heck are ya? I am going to be Tom the Whiskey Whisperer for this video, and I wanted to do a classic Manhattan, but I kind of took a liberty at the last minute anyway. So it's very close to a classic, and I think it still can be considered a classic. But I kind of geared it more towards the holidays. So here's what I did. I'm using the Four Finger Distillery Rye Whiskey, Distiller Select Barrel Proof at 108. Let me show you that bottle, both sides there. So I used 2.5 ounces of the whiskey, 1 ounce sweet vermouth, but here's the liberty that I took. It was in the bitters. I didn't want to use, I don't typically use traditional Angostura most of the time anyway. I'm adding something, but for the holidays, as we, head into the holiday season, I used the cranberry bitters to kind of change the game up a little bit. And it really made it festive, if you will, especially the color, because those cranberry bitters are a bright red, so it really brightened up the cocktail. I haven't tasted it yet, so you're going to be the first. Oh, good God, that's nice, man. I'm a genius. And boy, oh boy, that's tasty. Yeah, so the bitters change was really last minute because I had my other bitters sitting there. Then I saw the cranberry and I thought, huh. We got Thanksgiving, Christmas, all those others in there. We got Hanukkah, Festivus, Kwanzaa. Why not? And it did kind of change the game up a little bit. It makes it a nice holiday version of a classic cocktail. I do like a Manhattan. It is my favorite cocktail, especially as we get into this time of year. I tend to get away from the ice, and I like a nice straight up cocktail, and that is classic for a Manhattan. I'll be honest, though, I typically like to serve my old fashions that way too, instead of the great big cube. I think that's become a trend lately, but it isn't necessarily traditional. Using these hollow stemmed coupes that my wife found at a thrift store. Really like these, man. They're elegant. Something that I'm not. Oh, mercy. Oh, that is delicious, man. This rye is crazy good, boy. I kind of wish I'd have bought another bottle of it. I did buy 2 bottles from Four Fingers. I bought this and their malt whiskey, but wow, that rye is special, man. I'm a converted bourbon drinker. Now, I haven't given up bourbon. I still love bourbon, but I have really gotten to where I enjoy and appreciate rye whiskeys, especially good small distillery rye whiskey like this one. Oh, man, that is nice. That's very nice, man. Cocktails. I am a beer drinker. Everybody knows that. But boy, come this season, I'm really feeling the cocktails, Just, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all the others, it kind of feels like cocktail season as well. Where you can bring out the best stuff that you have. And I'm a working class guy, so for me, top shelf might be somebody else's near bottom, but, we all do what we can. I think there's a lot of inflated pricing on out there, and I don't want to be a part of it. So that's why I intentionally go out of my way to buy a small distillery product. If I do buy a name brand product, on the rare occasion that I do make sure it's on sale. Yeah, I ain't paying full retail. I'm a tightwad, man. Yeah, if you ever see me with a name brand product, it's because I got a bargain on it. That's exactly the case, man. Yeah, I got a deal. That's why I have it. Otherwise, I don't buy them. I mean, on my bar cart right here, I've got Builder's Gin from Restless Spirits in North Kansas City. I've got Four Finger from Indianapolis. I've got Endeavor and Watershed and Echo from Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, I mean, I try to buy the little guys as much as possible. In all honesty, I think it's a better product, but for some reason, whiskey drinkers like to have that name, and I've never quite figured that out. Because those same guys will go out of their way to go to the small craft breweries, but when it comes to whiskey, they want that big name that everybody knows, and I can't figure out that disconnect. It doesn't make sense to me. While they'll preach by small, but not when it comes to whiskey. I don't understand that mentality. Because in my opinion, I prefer I think the small distilleries are doing better product. I just think a lot of folks are sucked into buying those names they know, so they will keep doing it. And much like the evil beer giant wants to put a smackdown on craft breweries that they think are taking too much of their market share, Big Whiskey does exactly the same thing. That's why they go out of their way to try to stomp on those small distilleries. Try to create a want and need that doesn't exist. I found two great distilleries in Indianapolis. I found Hotel Tango, had a great time there, and then I found a Four Finger, which was incredible as well. Yeah, and I would love to get back to those two places again. I actually bought some good stuff from the Hard Truth Bar. I know it's not from there. The Hard Truth Bar in Indianapolis at the Garage Food Hall, I believe it was. Uh, so yeah, I bought a lot of great stuff in Indianapolis. That one surprised me because I didn't realize that stuff was there until we got there. But yeah, I mean, keep these little guys alive, man. Four Finger is doing some great stuff. So is Hotel Tango and Hard Truth for that matter. But I had a great time at Four Finger. I had a nice flight. Had a great chat with the bartender there. He was very friendly and knowledgeable. So it had a pigment close before I added those cranberry bitters, but you can see what those cranberry bitters did. It just kind of gave it that nice red. I feel like it gives it a holiday feel. Oh man, that is delicious. So rye, do you have to use rye in making a Manhattan? Have to? No, there's no cocktail police going to show up at your door. Traditionally, rye is used. However, you can find early recipes because I've looked that will use bourbon, but bourbon being used then was a traditional bourbon that uses rye as a secondary. So my personal caveat is yes, I will use bourbon to make a Manhattan, but it has to be a traditional bourbon that uses rye as a secondary, and more often than not, a high rye bourbon with a rye content no less than 25%. But I like 30 in it. I like 30. I gotta tell you, because I almost use the J Riggers that I have because it's only 56% corn and 30% rye. I mean that's a nice rye balance, but then I remembered I had this Four Finger and decided to use it. So yes, I mean, again, traditionally rye, but there's nothing wrong with using bourbon. But I mean, I personally wouldn't use a wheated bourbon because I think it's going to make the drink too soft and sweet. It's the reason I feel like rye needs to be in bourbon, because you need that spice to balance the sweetness of the corn. But there are some wheated bourbons that I really enjoy. One I found recently that really knocked my socks off was this one from Neely Family Distillery, their Kentucky Single Barrel Strength Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It's 76% corn, 19% wheat, 5% malted barley, and it is just insane. But I'm not as enamored by the wheated names, to be honest with you. I think they're all overpriced. That's why I will go out of my way to go to these little guys and spend the money. Because in all honesty, I mean, I personally feel that they're making better product. And the big guys are doing the best they can to keep them out of the market. And brainwashing whiskey drinking lemmings that think you have to have specific names. That's the mentality. I just can't make it make sense. I like these glasses. My wife got 2 of them. And I weren't sure if they had a different name, but I sent it to my glass expert friend, who just said that they're called. It's just a hollow stem coupe, but he did acknowledge that he'd never seen one personally either. So, not sure how my wife came across them, but they seem to be they seem to be a rarity, I guess. I really like them though. Again, and just add a little elegance. Oh man, that was nice. The Manhattan. To me, there's just something special about a classic Manhattan. And other than the bitters, I will admit I took a liberty because I wanted to kind of make it a holiday Manhattan. But other than that, it is a classic Manhattan. I've got the rye, I've got the sweet vermouth. But yeah, I did make that last minute change to add that cranberry. So, What was interesting though is I bought cherry bitters from this same brand, and the cherry bitters are clear, but these cranberry bitters are bright red, man. I picked them up in, excuse me, I picked them up, I believe I got these at Gomer's in Kansas City last year when we were up there. Just a little over a year ago. It's back in October of last year, yeah. We hit that Gomer's. I'm pretty sure that's where I picked those up. The Manhattan. It's not a cocktail you want to rush through. You want to take it easy. You do want to keep it cold, right? Or you do want it nice and cold to start with, I should say. Make sure your glass is chilled. Make sure the drink is well chilled. I shake, but hey, if you rather do something different, do what you got to do. But make sure it is well chilled, because you're not going to want to drink it in 5 minutes, right? You want it to last, but you don't necessarily want to get warm either. Now, it is going to warm up some, and that's okay. It doesn't need to stay ice cold all the way through, but you want to start with it very cold, and it helps to make sure your glass is chilled to start with. Make sure you shake well and properly. A lot of folks like to do an improper shake because that's what they've seen people do on television. And that's quite an inefficient shake, man. uh, anyway, as we get near the end here, gosh, this was delicious. I want to show you this bottle of rye one more time before I sign off here. Four Finger, Indianapolis, Indiana. Although I know I think they've got 3 locations. barrel proof rye whiskey, Distiller Select. This is barrel proof at 108. Think about that for those of you that know something about whiskey. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all right, good guys, Sláinte. Thanks for tuning in, guys.